What's going on, guys? I'm right here for Student Aesthetics, and in today's video I'm going to discuss cutting, losing body fat, and muscle loss. A lot of people have been asking me about this topic, and so basically about how to prevent your body from burning all that hard-earned muscle, because it takes a lot of time to put on muscle mass, so you definitely don't want to lose any of it while you're cutting body fat. And honestly, it's not that hard to prevent your body from losing muscle, but I know that there are a lot of different protocols on the internet that make you actually lose muscles, and I definitely don't want you guys to fall into any of that, and I don't want you guys to lose any muscle while cutting. So in today's video, I'm going to explain my experiences, I'm going to explain some knowledge, so let's go. So the first tip I want to give you guys is do not go on a starvation diet, alright? And there are a lot of different starvation diets out there on the internet, but they are widely promoted, okay? Why? They do work, alright? They do work for weight loss. But we are not talking about weight loss here. We're talking about fat loss, all right? Weight loss means just losing weight. That can be water, that can be fat, that can be muscle, all right? We don't want any of that. We just want to lose fat, because you will only look good when you are shredded and you have some muscle mass on you, all right? If you cut off all the fat you have and also all the muscle you have, you will basically not have anything left, all right? So that's not gonna look good, guys. And that's also gonna mess you up mentally as well, and it's not gonna be as sustainable. And sustainability is basically the most important thing in your diet, all right? Because your diet will not be successful if you are not able to sustain it. So simply go on a regular diet, including carbs, all right? That's what I usually promote. Some people do well on a ketogenic diet, for example, but most people don't. So simply start off with a regular diet and go from there, right? See if it works. If it doesn't, then try out something different, but always keep the calories high enough so that your body doesn't directly burn muscle, because you're in a way too big of a deficit. All right, so always keep the deficit, start at around 500 calories under your maintenance. Now I know it's kind of hard to calculate your maintenance level, so just start off somewhere in that range and then notice whether you are dropping weight way too quickly or not too quickly. It's basically something you can observe, and that's why I always recommend to start off a little bit higher on the calories to just make sure that you're not dropping too rapidly. But even if you do, you can still bump up the calories, and you will probably not be able to lose a lot of muscle within a few days, right? So simply go from there and then see if you lose weight or not. And then the second tip is maintain your strength, all right? I've talked about this a lot, guys. Maintaining strength during your cutting phase and building strength during your bulking phase. I believe as a natural, strength is the most important indicator of whether you are doing good in the gym or not, whether you are building muscle or not. All right, and that's why I believe strength training is a very important aspect of lifting as well. Even if you want to build size, now especially when you're cutting, you want to keep your strength up. All right, you don't want to drop in strength. You don't want to do all these crazy training protocols that a lot of people promote on the internet as well, where you, in your cutting phase, you switch to very high reps. All right, and that is basically the biggest myth there is on the internet, and that will definitely mess up your gains. All right, if you're on anabolic steroids, it might work out because you will burn more calories. And to be honest, you will still build muscle on anabolic steroids even if your training sucks. All right, that's just a fact. We can't turn around that. So that's the reason why it does work for some people. But for natural lifters, like most people on my channel, I suppose, because I am natural and I spread the natural message, it is not going to work out for you, all right? So what I think is very important here is that you stick exactly to the same workout routine that you were doing when you were bulking, or at least apply the same principles, right? And that makes sure that you can still track your progress, and you make sure that you do not lose any strength, and you can even gain some strength during your cutting phase, especially in the first couple of weeks. Now, if you're a beginner, I have a bunch of clients that are able to still make progress in the gym while they are cutting, while they are on a 500 plus caloric deficit, and still being able to make strength gains every single workout. Now, that is usually because they're either beginners or they have not been training properly yet. They might have been training for half a year or a year, but they have not been training properly. They did like a bro split, and they apply my principles to their training routine, and they start to notice that they are able to gain strength during their cutting phase as well. So that's something you want to try out for yourself. Simply try to increase the weights, and if it's not possible, at least focus on maintaining your strength, right? So don't do all this high rep stuff and switching to all kinds of different protocols. Simply stick to what you know works for you, because it did work to build all that muscle, so it will also work to maintain your muscle. So the third one is keep the carbs high, all right? I see a lot of people, they are very scared of carbs. They think carbs will make them fat. They always ask me like, how are you eating pasta during your cut? How are you eating rice? Like, I try to keep my carbs as high as possible while I still lose weight, all right? And that pretty much goes hand in hand with the first point as well. You want to keep the calories as high as you possibly can and still lose weight, all right? So don't drop calories when you are still dropping weight, all right? A lot of people want to take the shortcut, the easy road. There is no easy road when it comes to fat loss, guys. You can go in a bigger deficit, you can eat less foods, but you will not burn more fat. There is a maximum amount of fat that your body can burn. All right, now if you're on anabolic steroids, again, you can go on a starvation diet and you might even still put on muscle mass, but as a natural, it's not gonna work out, guys. So simply take it easy and take it slow, guys. Take it very slow. So take a long time to cut and then keep the carbs as high as you possibly can. All right, you wanna have protein around 1 gram per pound of body weight. And I see a lot of people also, they go on crazy high protein diets. Some people I see are only eating proteins and vegetables during their cutting phase and not even fats for hormonal balance. You know, it's pretty crazy, guys. And they're cutting out carbs completely. And that is just not the way you want to do it. Because when you keep the carbs high, you will be able to have better performance in the gym, right? Because you will have more energy. You will be able to push these heavy weights. And like I said, if you maintain your strength, there is a very, very good possibility to maintain your muscle as well. There's actually a 100% possibility. So always focus on that, guys. Keep the carbs as high as possible. Now, I know that at some point you will have to drop your carbs, all right? Because your fats can only go down so much before you start getting hormonal issues, before your libido starts to slow down, and that's something you'd not want, all right? And your protein can only go as low as well. So yeah, so proteins and fats are essential. So there is a point where you cannot really lower your fats any further. So at that point, you will have to cut carbs, all right? But you still want to keep your carbs as high as possible during your cutting phase, as long as you keep losing weight, right? And if you stop losing weight, you can lower it. But as long as you keep losing weight, don't change anything. The next one is adjust your training volume. Me personally, I always like to stick to a high frequency split with a little bit lower volume. Now, I know like a lot of people, like I already said, the workout routines on the internet, when you're cutting, they simply switch to a very, very high volume training split. And that is usually not very effective, guys, for maintaining your strength. Because if you do too much, it's not gonna work out. And I actually noticed that during my cutting phase, slowly but surely I start to cut down volume a little bit because I simply cannot handle it anymore. And if I do cut my volume, I will be able to use the same weights on the exercises. So I will be able to keep strong on my lifts, right? And that is actually way more important than doing a lot of volume, because you will not build any muscle during your cutting phase. It is mainly about maintaining your muscle mass, maintaining your strength therefore. And that's why I think it's very important to keep the volume fairly low and just enough to basically maintain your muscle mass. And a lot of people think you burn a lot of calories with lifting, but they don't realize that you burn a lot of calories with lifting. That is true, but that is actually because lifting makes you put on muscle mass, and due to the muscle mass, you will burn more calories naturally without doing anything. All right, so it's not that the weights itself, pushing the weights, is making you burn a lot of calories, because it actually doesn't burn that many calories, especially if you incorporate strength training as well. So that is not really something you want to worry about. You just want to do some additional cardio if you want to burn more calories, all right? So the deeper you get into your cut, you might want to cut down the volume just a little bit in order to keep your strength up on your lifts, all right? So for example, if you do 5 sets on a bench press and you start to notice that after the 4th set you're very fatigued, simply cut out 1 set and you will still be able to do the same weights on that exercise. Now, obviously you don't want to take it too far, like you don't want to go from 5 sets to 1 set at the end, but you just want to gradually lower it just a little bit when you start to notice that you just can't handle it anymore. And now the last but not least, I think it's a very important one, is to incorporate refeed days and or additional diet breaks. All right, so a refeed day basically means that you can have it like once or twice a week, a day where you eat very, very high in carbohydrates. And I will basically put the link in the description box down below, because I've explained it in a lot of detail there, why it's so beneficial. But that's definitely something you want to check out, guys, before you start your cutting phase, refeed days. And then diet breaks is something you can do when you want to cut for a very long period of time. All right, and that is usually for 14 plus weeks. You can also do it after like 10 weeks, 12 weeks, but it kind of depends on how long you want to keep losing fat, right? If you want to cut for like 16 weeks, you might want to do a diet break after 8 weeks. And a diet break basically means that you go back to your maintenance calories, or maybe even a little bit above that, because you usually will not get fat in that period. And that's usually, in my experience, a period of 1 to 2 weeks. 2 weeks is usually the most optimal, but it kind of depends on how much time you have to lose that fat, right? If you're going to be cutting for, let's say, 14 weeks and you do a diet break like after 6 weeks, you probably don't want to take 2 weeks, because then you only have like a few weeks left. So you kind of want to play around with that. But if you're cutting for prolonged periods of time, you definitely want to take like a diet break in between of 2 weeks. And that's not going to hurt your progress anyhow, guys. It is basically going to reset you. It's going to help you in the gym with getting some of your strength back as well. And psychologically, it's definitely going to help you and reset you as well. So after that, you can go back to cutting and you will notice that you'll be easily able to lose fat again, and that you will be less hungry throughout the day, have more energy, etc. So these are pretty much the most important things, guys. And like I already said, it's actually pretty damn simple, but because there is so many complicated information and false information on the internet, I feel like a lot of people are misinformed, and that's why I still wanted to make this video. So it basically comes down to keeping your calories as high as you possibly can and still lose fat, all right? You don't want to cut them greatly to lose fat in a very, very rapid way, because that's not gonna work out, guys. You're gonna lose a lot of muscle in that way. So you wanna keep your calories as high as you can, and you wanna keep your strength up as high as you can. And you will do that by incorporating strength workouts. So still doing the lower rep sets and not doing all this pump work of 15 to 20 reps like a lot of people say is most optimal for fat burning. And then at the same time, you also want to keep your carbs high in order to keep that performance up and in order to do well on those exercises. All right, so it basically all goes hand in hand. And then you want to take diet breaks and refeeds in order to help you with getting through your cut, to keep your hormones in check and to keep you energized throughout your whole cut. So that's basically all the points I wanted to make, guys. And that's basically how you maintain your strength during your cutting phase. So this video is not really about how to cut down, but how to do it successfully without losing muscle mass. And I think that's a very, very important thing, because I see a lot of people going on these crash diets. And now, first of all, these crash diets, they will usually not even be effective. They will usually not even help you, because a lot of people will binge on those diets, all right? But if you don't binge on those diets and you stick to those diets, they will work, all right? You will drop greatly in weight, but you will lose a lot of muscle mass, and that is not gonna make you look good. It's gonna make you worse than you started off with. So I want you guys to apply those principles if you are cutting. Let me know in the comments down below if you like this video, and if I should make more of these videos. I appreciate all of you guys watching. If you like the video, make sure to like the video as always. Thank you guys for watching, and peace out. See you in the next video.